Hi, this is Dr. Audrey Ray. Today is day 5 already of my 2-week challenge. Today, I want to talk about speaking your boss's language. So let me explain what I mean by that. You'd be surprised to hear how often I get brand new clients who tell me, Audrey, I have this new boss. He's been working here a few months and I'm not getting anywhere with this new boss. He doesn't listen to me or he doesn't trust me. I feel like I have no influence, and I think it's because I am a woman. Or maybe the client might say, I think it's because I am a person of color and that new boss is a white male and it's discriminating. So because of my gender or because of my ethnicity, or sometimes they say it's because of my age, but because of something beyond their control, they feel they're being discriminated against. And the truth is, yes, of course, discrimination is alive and well. It's 2018 and it's still there. There will still be some administrators and leaders who treat people differently. So I'm not saying discrimination is not real, but what I'm saying is before we jump into a belief that nothing can be done because the cause is discrimination, which puts the blame entirely on the other person, which leaves you powerless, I really want to start looking into communication patterns, because what if it's not discrimination? Or what if there's a teeny tiny bit of discrimination, but it's really not that much, and you could very easily turn that around by speaking your boss's language? Can you become a greater asset? Can you just have more influence by understanding your boss better, instead of jumping into judgment and saying it's that person's fault and there's nothing that I can do? So I understand the temptation of finding blame in the other person, because in a way you're off the hook. If somebody is doing something that's wrong, it's not your fault, you're off the hook. But I really don't like to go there, because that makes you a victim, and that means there's nothing you can do to change your reality, and I'm just not ready to accept that. In some cases it's true, but before we jump to conclusion and say there's nothing you can do, I really want you to start thinking about ways to speak your boss's language a little bit better. So hopefully you're not in a situation where you're feeling dismissed, disrespected, and hopefully you're not in a bad situation at all. But there's always an opportunity to have more influence and better communication when you understand where your boss is coming from. So first thing is, people always tell me my boss should care about what I care about. I mean, they're not putting it in those exact words, but they're telling me this, and that, that's what's important, and that's what my boss should care about. Here again, every time we approach a situation with criticism, then we're stuck. There's nothing we can do. So step one is not to start making judgments and resisting what is. Step one is to understand. Be able to pay attention to, what does your boss really value? What is really important to your boss? Because it's actually quite obvious when you start to listen and pay attention. You'll see. So I'm going to simplify. Obviously, there's it's not always that black and white, but I want to give you some examples to help you understand where I'm coming from. Some people care about reputation, prestige, and it's ego driven. Image is important. Community relations, being in the paper, PR, all that is the most important thing. Other people are about the students. Maybe they themselves came from that same type of university or maybe community college. For whatever reason, their heart is very much into it. It's all about the students. So you know that that person's top value is service to students. Others may be caring about something else a little bit different, but everybody tends to have certain values that are influencing everything that they're looking at, because anything that is going to have an impact on what they care about, that's how you're going to get their attention. So let's say if you're talking to a true servant leader, somebody who's doing their job to do their job, it's not about how that makes them special, it's not about their prestige, it's not about their status. Somebody who's truly here to serve and cares about the students, and you start telling them, we'll be number one, well, that's not going to mean anything to that person. So you've got to really pay attention to what that person cares about and be in alignment. If you're watching this, chances are you actually really do care about your students. You care about learning objectives. You care about student outcomes. You care about success. You care about equality. You care about diversity and all those things that are really, really important. So hopefully you're in here for the right reasons. You're wanting to do your job for the right reasons and to truly be of service. So if this is where you're actually at risk of projecting your values and your needs on everybody else. So it's really even more important for you, even more than anyone else, to pause and pay attention to what people talk about. So with your boss, really listen to what are your boss's goals and values and objectives, because this is how you're going to start gaining influence. It's not by making your boss wrong, and it's not by judging what they should do differently. It's truly by listening where they're coming from. And yesterday I was talking a little bit about meta programs. There's one that's critically important, and I don't think we talk about that in higher ed. Interesting. Once again, NLP, I think, is terribly needed in higher ed, which is why I'm enjoying so much bringing a little bit of that into my work. One meta program is that some people are sort of wired in a way where they are being focused on what they want. So that's a toward meta program. It's paying attention to what we want, is going towards something. Other people, it's more of the opposite. It's called away. They are paying attention to what they want to get away from. So you see that if your boss is more of a visionary and they know what they want to make happen, and they're feeling pulled into a vision of success, and it's really a toward type of energy where they're seeing all that they want to create, and that's what they want to talk about, and that's what they want to hear you talk about, versus a boss who's more of an away type of person. So that's somebody who has more fears, who's more focused on what can go wrong, who's more focused on avoiding shame, avoiding regret, and is going to be somebody you want to talk to in terms of what problems you can prevent. So when you have to suggest any kind of idea, instead of saying it is to create this, which is a toward type of approach, which may not really be compelling, with an away type of person, you will say, this is what's going to prevent student attrition. This is what's going to prevent not being able to fill this class. This is what, you see what I mean? It's really showing them all of the stuff they want to stay away from. So I hope you're finding this helpful. Start thinking about it. There's obviously way, way more to influence than just understanding your boss's values and that one meta program, which is away or toward. But trust me, it makes a huge difference when you start paying attention, because I sometimes will talk to a client, explain it, and I said, oh yeah, that makes sense. Boom, done, 5 seconds. And the following week, they're telling me, well, I tried to change how I talk to my boss and it didn't quite work. And I tell them, well, let's actually would have been better to role play before. I didn't want to be micromanaging and say, let's role play before, but let's debrief now and then role play before the next one so that you feel more ready. And they're actually really struggling. Let's say they are more of a getting away from what they want type of person, and I'm asking them to speak in a way of going toward what they want. They will present the big picture, but then revert back to trying to prevent all the problems, everything that's wrong. So what happens when somebody is wired like this, really wired to pay attention to everything that can go wrong, and is always communicating in a way of showing how they are being responsible and trustworthy and reliable and all those good qualities, but from a place of fear, 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 fear. Anybody who is like that from the perspective of a toward type of person, that person is going to sound negative, maybe not that much of a team player. It's going to sound like that person is resistant, that maybe that person is not wanting to change anything. That person may look like they don't want improvement. They may seem narrow-minded. They may seem critical. So you see how one simple desire to save your institution from liability, lawsuits, budget problems, bad decisions that are going to hurt your student, your desire to protect can actually make you look like somebody that your boss will not appreciate. And you may think that in some ways you may feel discriminated against, and you may think it's my gender, it's my age. But what if it's just your meta program? What if it's just that your mind is wired to pay attention to what you don't want, and your boss's mind is wired to pay attention to what he does want, or vice versa? That happens too. Or that there's so many implications. I'll give you one more, and then looking at the time, how long has this been? Ooh, 10 minutes already, you'd better wrap this up. Let's say, for example, somebody wants to avoid problems, so they're micromanaging. They want every little detail to be perfect, versus somebody who is more of a toward person who cares more about the big picture. So the implications are endless. There's tons and tons and tons of things that can go wrong. People get pissed off, egos get bruised, people get a nasty target on their back, and they're calling it discrimination when it's communication. So I hope you're not being discriminated against. If you are, you still have the power to become a wonderful asset to your boss, change your boss's mind. But the majority of you guys, you are actually creating drama unknowingly only because of your communication style. So influence, influence, influence. Learn as much as you can. You can work with me, work with another coach, whoever, doesn't matter, but learn to regain influence because that's where your personal power is. There's no reason to feel victimized. You really believe to be happy, to be appreciated, and to be rewarded for your hard work. So have an amazing rest of your day, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.